Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-minute Histories videos. And if you're following along real time, more or less, you know we are quickly heading into the July 4th holiday. I'm down here at the Inner Harbor, and in just a day or two it is going to be packed with throngs of people celebrating the 4th and watching fireworks overhead. That got us at Baltimore Heritage wondering, when did we in Baltimore start celebrating July 4th, and has it always included fireworks? A little bit of a spoiler alert that we in the city that gave birth to the national anthem have not always been the most robust of July 4th celebrants, but we'll get to that. Let's start with the nation's first July 4th celebrations. Those happened just 1 year after we declared independence from Great Britain. So July 4th, 1777, the folks in Philadelphia and Boston celebrated. That was a little presumptuous. We had declared independence, but we were at war and victory was all but certain, but celebrate they did with parades and fireworks. So fireworks have been with us from the very beginning. Even back then, fireworks had been around for quite a while. As a somewhat aside, they got going about the year 1000 AD in China, where professional pyrotechnicians would put on displays that would feature various colors and sequences and different kinds of booms. By about 1300, folks in Europe had learned how to make fireworks, and by the 1700s, a lot of countries, cities in a lot of countries were celebrating. In 1749, for example, George Handel wrote the famous Royal Fireworks music that we can still hear today. And the English by that time had been celebrating Guy Fawkes Day, ironically with fireworks, since Guy Fawkes Day celebrates the foiling of Guy Fawkes trying to blow up King James I in 1605. But back to America on July 4th. We had Philadelphia and Boston in 1777. George Washington and Benjamin Franklin were not far behind. On July 4th, 1778, Washington celebrated July 4th by giving his soldiers an extra ration of rum. And Franklin was in Paris trying to convince the French to join our cause, and he celebrated by hosting a dinner party. In 1781, Massachusetts became the first state to declare July 4th a state celebration. It took Congress a little while longer, almost 100 years longer, but in 1870, Congress gave federal workers the day off. And it wasn't until 1938, however, that Congress officially declared July 4th as a national holiday. So what was going on in Baltimore all this time? Well, for many, not enough. Here's what one writer wrote into the Baltimore Sun in 1838. He writes, "Can it be possible that a community like this, known for their patriotism, their daring deeds during the whole Revolution, should now sink into apathy and so far forget the memorable 4th that not even a gun was fired nor a bell rung to usher in a day which gave birth to a nation?" The author goes on to suggest that we form a committee to organize things like they had in New York and Boston and Philadelphia. It took us a little while, but we finally did. In 1846, for example, we were finally feeling the public spirit on Independence Day. We started that day by firing cannons and ringing bells. We had a parade to Mount Vernon Place where the Declaration of Independence was read out loud. And we ended the day with fireworks displays all across the city, and then lighting the Washington Monument up with something called drum and light, which we now call limelight. Pretty spectacular. That was 1846. 2 years later, on July 4th, as the cornerstone of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. was being laid, July 4th, 1848, we were really rolling in the spirit, so much so that we had junior artillery units setting up their own fireworks displays, including over in East Baltimore on Asquith Street. Our early days, we had celebrations really all over the city. Patterson Park, Federal Hill, Memorial Stadium had wonderful fireworks displays after baseball games on July 4th. But in the 1880s, we started incorporating the Inner Harbor with our displays. In 1883, for example, we had a wonderful celebration. A reenactor of Lord Baltimore sailed from Fort McHenry over to Brown's Wharf in Fells Point to start a fireworks display that was lit off from barges that were anchored off of Locust Point and Canton. Scranton. The fireworks included a powerful array of things, including Roman candles, bombs, rockets, and something that I don't know what it is called Greek fire, which I think had to be about as dangerous as you can get. Somewhere along the way, our lackluster celebrating turned into maybe over-jubilant celebrating, and there were many, many injuries, hundreds of injuries each year in Baltimore and around Maryland. So many that the Maryland Society for the Prevention of Blindness mounted a campaign against the fireworks industry, and in 1941 they won. And that year is when our General Assembly outlawed the sale of fireworks. That same year, the number of injuries went from more than 300 down to fewer than 12. They called these safe and sane celebrations, and I think that's what they were. I'm going to wrap up by coming back to the harbor. Since 1980 and the opening of Harbor Place, and really even a few years before, the Inner Harbor has been the focus of our July 4th celebrations and our fireworks. Now, some years we've had a few glitches. The fireworks didn't start quite on time, or the pre-recorded music didn't go through the loudspeakers the way it quite should. Some years we've had to cancel altogether because of rain. But I think after getting going in the 1830s and then figuring out how to do it safely in the 1940s, we have finally found our groove on how to celebrate Independence Day here in Baltimore. And with that, I'll say happy 4th of July, everybody, and we'll see you next time.